do not know what anything is for. I do not know what anything is for. You fill in the blank of what you see. I do not know what this cedar is for. I do not know what that oak leaf is for. I do not know what anything is for. I do not know what this is for. You filled in, we'll do a couple more. I do not know what anything is for. I do not know what this is for. And you just look around and say, I do not know what this M is for. I do not know what this is for. I do not know what anything is for. I do not know what this is for. I do not know what anything is for. Well, he's going to get into explaining this. This is a continuation of what we've been learning to have an open mind. Thank you all so much for joining me today and studying A Course in Miracles. We're reading from the 1992 edition of from publisher Foundation for Inner Peace. And we're ready for lesson 25. I'm Miracle Willie, forgiveness teacher from the Ozarks. And we're ready for lesson 25. Like I said, I do not know what anything is for. Purpose is meaning. Purpose is meaning. Today's idea explains why nothing you see means anything. You do not know what it is for, therefore it is meaningless to you. Everything is for your own best interests. That is what it is for. That is its purpose. That is what it means. It is in recognizing this that your goals become unified. It is in recognizing this that what you see is given meaning. You perceive the world and everything in it as meaningful in terms of ego goals. These goals have nothing to do with your own best interests because the ego is not you. That's a little introductory, what we're going to be learning about. Let's pause there and go look at our text reading. I've been liking this, reading the workbook lesson at the end so that you can go straight into your practice period. Specific type of meditation. And we're ready for the last section in chapter 3. Chapter 3, the innocent perception. Section Roman numeral 7, creating versus the self-image. And yesterday there was a passage that out of the Bible, they talked about the root of all evil, and that was out of 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 10. Creating versus the self-image. And Timothy was an apostle of Paul, or excuse me, a disciple of the way of Paul. And anyway, creating versus the self-image. Every system of thought must have a starting point. It begins with either a making or a creating, a difference we've already discussed. Every system of thought must have a starting point. And if our starting point is inconceivable, then everything built on it's inconceivable. We want our starting point to be God and His abundance, His permanent peace, our connection with Him in eternity, in forever, in now, in always, and our abundance, instead of our lack and deprivation and separation from reality or from God, from love. Every system of thought must have a starting point. It begins with either a making or a creating, a difference we have already discussed. Their resemblance lies in their power as foundations. Their difference lies in what rests upon them. Both are cornerstones for systems of belief by which one lives. It is a mistake to believe that a thought system based on lies is weak. Nothing made by a child of God is without power. It is essential to realize this. because otherwise you will be unable to escape from the prison you have made. Prison in our minds by our beliefs. You cannot resolve the authority problem by depreciating the power of your mind. You cannot resolve the authority problem by depreciating the power of the mind. To do so is to deceive yourself, and this will hurt you because you really understand the strength of the mind. You also realize that you cannot weaken it any more than you can weaken God. The devil, in quotes devil, because there's no real devil, the devil is a frightening concept because he seems to be extremely powerful and extremely active. He is perceived as a force in combat with God, battling him for possession of his creations. The devil deceives by lies and builds kingdoms in which everything is in direct opposition to God. Yet he attracts men rather than repels them, and they are willing to, in quotes, sell him their souls in return for gifts of no real worth. This makes absolutely no sense. And let's learn that it doesn't make any sense. Paragraph 3. We've discussed the fall or separation before, but its meaning must be clearly understood. The separation is a system of thought real enough in time, though not in eternity. All beliefs are real to the believer. The fruit of only one tree was forbidden in the symbolic garden, and is referring to Genesis chapter 1. That was in verse 17. That whole chapter talks about the garden, and chapter 2. The fruit of only one tree was forbidden in the symbolic garden, but God could not have forbidden it, or it could not have been eaten. I love that way of thinking. The fruit of only one tree was forbidden, and that word forbidden is in quotes, in the symbolic garden. For God could not have forbidden it. But God could not have forbidden it, or it could not have been eaten. If God knows his children, and I assure you that he does, would he have put them in a position where their own destruction was possible? The forbidden tree was named the tree of knowledge. Yet God created knowledge and gave it freely to his creations. The symbolism here has been given many interpretations, but you may be sure that any interpretation that sees either God or his creations as capable of destroying their own purpose is in error. Wow, there you go. It gives you a broad basis to look at the way you want to interpret that passage. Paragraph 4. Eating of the fruit of the tree of knowledge is a symbolic expression for usurping the ability for self-creating. This is the only sense in which God and his creations are not co-creators. Let's read that again. Eating of the fruit of the tree of knowledge is a symbolic expression for usurping the ability for self-creating. This is the only sense in which God and his creations are not co-creators. The belief that they are is implicit in the self-concept, or the tendency of the self to make an image of itself. In other words, you were created by God. You didn't, and you're not equal in that sense. He created you. You didn't create him. But you can now turn around and create like him. The tendency of the self to make an image of itself. The belief that they are, let's back up. Eating of the fruit of the tree of knowledge is a symbolic expression for usurping the ability for self-creating. This is the only sense in which God and his creations are not co-creators. The belief that they are is implicit in the self-concept, or the tendency of the self to make an image of itself. Images are perceived, not known. Knowledge cannot deceive, but perception can. You can perceive yourself as self-creating, but you cannot do more than believe it. You cannot make it true. And as I said before, when you finally perceive correctly, you can only be glad that you cannot. Let's read it again. You can perceive yourself as self-creating, but you cannot do more than believe it. You cannot make it true. And as I said before, when you finally perceive correctly, you can only be glad that you cannot self-create. We are created in the image of God as creators, though. But we didn't create ourselves, is what he's trying to get us to see. The authority problem is the thought that you did, that you're in competition with God. You're separate from God. And as I said before, when you finally perceive correctly, you can only be glad that you cannot. Until then, however, the belief that you can is the foundation stone in your thought system. And all your defenses are used to attack ideas that might bring it to light. You still believe you are an image of your own making. Your mind is split with the Holy Spirit on this point, and there is no resolution while you believe the one thing that is literally inconceivable. That is why you cannot create and are filled with fear about what you make. Paragraph 5. The mind can make the belief in separation very real and very fearful, and this belief is the devil. Okay, now he's defining what if you want to call something a devil. The mind can make the belief in separation from God and from your brothers and sisters. The mind can make the belief in separation very real and very fearful, and this belief is the devil, the adversary, the separation, where fear is born, the idea that we're not connected. It is powerful, active, destructive, and clearly in opposition to God because it literally denies his fatherhood. Look at your life and see what the devil has made. But realize that this making will surely dissolve in the light of truth because its foundation is a lie. Isn't that nice? Coming to the light and the darkness leaves. Realize that this making will surely dissolve in the light of truth because its foundation is a lie. Your creation by God is the only foundation that cannot be shaken because the light is in it. Your starting point is truth, and you must return to your beginning capitalized, where we aren't separated. Much has been seen since then, but nothing has really happened. Yourself is still in peace, even though your mind is in conflict. You have not yet gone back far enough, and that is why you become so fearful. Wow, haven't gone back far enough. Got to get to the bottom of all these illusions. That's what our practice periods are helping us to do. As you approach the beginning, that's capital B, as you approach God, as you approach the beginning, you feel the fear of the destruction of your thought system upon you as if it were the fear of death. There is no death, but there is a belief in death. And the last paragraph for this chapter, 6. The branch that bears no fruit will be cut off and will wither away. And that's taken from what Jesus said in John chapter 15 and verse 2. The branch that bears no fruit will be cut off and will wither away. Be glad. The light will shine from the true foundation of life, and your own thought system will stand corrected. It cannot stand otherwise. You who fear salvation are choosing death. Life and death, light and darkness, knowledge and perception are irreconcilable. To believe that they can be reconciled is to believe that God and His Son cannot. Only the oneness of knowledge is free of conflict. Your kingdom is not of this world, because it was given you from beyond this world. Only in this world is the idea of an authority problem meaningful. The world is not left by death, but by truth. and truth can be known by all those for whom the kingdom was created and for whom it waits. Okay, wow, that's beautiful. All right, well, let's go look at I do not know what anything is for, lesson 25. But before we do, what's going on around the world today? Well, let's see. Burns Night, and that was celebration of Robert Burns, who was born in this day on 1759. I wrote 1959, but it's 1759. A Scottish poet and a philosopher. Clashing Clothes Day. Fluoride Day. And you know, even though fluoride, they say, makes your teeth stronger, I don't really think it's good to put chemicals in our water supply myself. You know, if people want to drop a little capsule in their water for some fluoride, well, that'd be okay. But to impose that on a whole population, I'm glad I drink out of a well myself, or for drink rainwater. But anyway, just the thought about Fluoride Day. Macintosh Computer Day. The Macintosh was introduced either on this day or tomorrow, or yesterday, in 1984. It was the predecessor of the Apple computer. National Irish Coffee Day. National IV Nurse Day. And I sure appreciate those nurses that know how to hit a vein easy. Get that old IV in. I haven't ever had to have that experience that I can think of. But I know a lot of people do. And it's nice to have a really skilled nurse. Observe the Weather Day. It's raining here today. I'm kind of underneath a little tarp and in a little shelter I made so I could be out of the wind and the rain. That's why I've been in the same location a lot this winter, because I've got a little place where I can get out of the rain a little better. Not completely, it's still dripping. Opposite Day, just a fun day to think about opposites and teach your kids about opposites. Thank Your Mentor Day. And I'd like to just take a moment to thank my mentor, Charlie Simpkins, who helped me to start looking at a new foundation where I wasn't separated. Of course, his practice was not A Course in Miracles, even though he would have appreciated it in many ways. His practice was more a Buddhist thought, but he was a teacher of Kriya Yoga. And that's where I learned my meditations from Paramahansa Yogananda and his lineage of teachers, which I'll be glad to share that with you, and I'll probably will as we go along, share with you some of those principles about how to bring the energy up through the Sushumna, the central spinal cord, as you get the left and the right, the Ida and the Pingala balanced out, and you breathe in the energy as you bring up the energy from your root chakra to your crown. And then as you exhale, you bring it back down. And you just do that about a dozen times the first year. Now, that's a real quick abbreviated version of what is Kriya Yoga. And we learn to meditate, learn to be sitting still and quiet. Very, very important. So thank you, Charlie, for pointing me in a nice way. I thought about the other day that it's easy to find your way when you can see a distant light. And Charlie kind of pointed me to a distant light that's been helping me guide my way for a long time now. Okay, and it's, yesterday at sunset began Tu B'Shvat, which is also known as Rosh Hashanah Lilanot, and I don't know that I'm pronouncing it right. It's a Jewish holiday, and it's you can find reading about it in Leviticus 19, 23, and 24, and Deuteronomy 14, 22 through 29. I think there may be some other things in the Bible or some of their sacred writings that allude that. But today it's used more as it's the new year of the tree, and it's more of an ecological appreciation day for the Jewish people, as I understand now. But it originated from Leviticus ideas. and I'm not exactly sure what they are. Let's see what else. I found this really good near-death experience that I'd like to encourage you all to listen to. It's called She Accompanied Her Sister to the Gates of Heaven. And it's a shared death experience. An older sister, she was older by a year, they were real close, and her younger sister, I think it was a younger one, got cancer and died. And the older sister walked her to the gates of heaven and stayed with her until she was embraced with all her, and she got to see the whole thing. Really wonderful story, and you can sure see where we're headed. And it's a Heaven Awaits YouTube. What else can I tell you about it? Anyway, let's just leave it at that. Okay. Permaculture for beginners. Let's just take a quick look. The next section we were going to look at was on daisies, beneficial insects, or beneficial plants that host beneficial insects. That's why they're beneficial plants, because they host beneficial insects. And daisies are in the aster family, Asteraceae. A United Kingdom daisy is the Mary's Rose daisy, and it's a Bellis perennis. And then the oxeye daisy here in the Ozarks is a Leucanemon vulgar, and I'm probably not pronouncing it right. Anyway, they attract ladybugs, and so do marigolds. They also attract, well, the marigolds specifically attract hoverflies and parasitic wasps and ladybugs. Marigolds are the Calendula officinalis. Anyway, just a couple plants that are beneficial to have in your garden, even though you don't necessarily eat them, though you eat some, some daisies are edible parts. Okay, and then in our edible landscaping, we got the black lace elderberry, which is a European elderberry. And I didn't mention yesterday that the one we just spoke about, the cutleaf daisy, cutleaf elderberry, both of those are Sambucus nigris. And of the black leaf elderberry, which is the European elderberry, Sambucus nigra, dark purple, black leaves and pink flower clusters. Foliage stays dark throughout the growing season. Very ornamental. Resists leaf diseases. Pollinate with cut leaf. Height 8 foot. Space 6 to 8 foot circles. Zones 4 through 9. Okay, well, let's go look now at our lesson and read through it and sing our song. I do not know what anything is for. Purpose is meaning. Today's idea explains why nothing you see means anything. You do not know what it is for, therefore it is meaningless to you. Everything is for your own best interests. That is what it is for, and that is its purpose. That is what it means. It is in recognizing this that your goals become unified. It is in recognizing this that what you see is given meaning. You perceive the world and everything in it as meaningful in terms of ego goals. These goals have nothing to do with your own best interest because the ego is not you. This false identification makes you incapable of understanding what anything is for. As a result, you are bound to misuse it. When you believe this, you will try to withdraw the goals you have assigned to the world instead of attempting to reinforce them. Another way of describing the goals you now perceive is to say that they are all concerned with, in quotes, personal interests. Since you have no personal interest, your goals are really concerned with nothing. In cherishing them, therefore, you have no goals at all, and thus you do not know what anything is for. Before you can make any sense out of the exercises for today, one more thought is necessary. At the most superficial levels, you do recognize purpose. Yet purpose cannot be understood at these levels. For example, You do understand that a telephone is for the purpose of talking to someone who is not physically in your immediate vicinity. What you do not understand is what you want to reach him for. And it is this that makes your contact with him meaningful or not. It is crucial to your learning to be willing to give up the goals you have established for everything. The recognition that they are meaningless, rather than good or bad, is the only way to accomplish this. The idea for today is a step in this direction. 6 practice periods, each of 2 minutes duration, are required. Each practice period should begin with a slow repetition of the idea for today, followed by looking about you and letting your glance rest on whatever happens to catch your eye, near or far, important or unimportant, human or non-human. With your eyes resting on each subject, you so select, say for example, I do not know what this chair is for. I do not know what this pencil is for. I do not know what this hand is for. Say this quite slowly, without shifting your eyes from the subject until you have completed the statement about it. Then move on to the next subject and apply today's idea as before. So let's do that once right now before we close. I do not know what anything is for. I do not know what anything is for. And then we'll look around and I'll hum it. I'll hum the blank. I do not know what anything is for. I do not know what anything is for. I do not know what anything is for. I do not know what this is for. You can look around and say it. I do not know what this is for. 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 I do not know. I do not know what this is for. 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 I do not know what anything is for. I do not know what this cedar tree is for. I do not know what anything is for. I do not know what anything is for. Again, thank you so much for joining me and studying this. I feel so privileged that I found this book. I hope you feel the same way, and that it's starting to help you to see a bigger picture of the world and create new foundation to build on. Instead of vulnerability and separation, we realize that we're always connected with God's love and goodness. And a word for peace in the island of Sicily, the Sicilian language, is P-A-C-I, and I think it's pronounced Paci. So, I do not know what anything is for. Paci. You know, if you're going to learn a new language, let the first word be peace. So maybe I can start you off and learn Sicilian. Paci. I do not know what anything is for. Paci.